Hey, folks, we're going to jump right into this thing, so thank you for tuning in. The coronavirus, you may not have it, and you may not know somebody who does have it, but it's affected pretty much everybody. And here's why. Because everything, or not, maybe not everything, but a lot of the things that we enjoy, and some of the things even that we worship, we'll get to that in just a second, but nearly everything that we enjoy and a lot of things that we worship have been completely taken away from us. Sports, extracurricular activities, time with friends, just being able to go and buy toilet paper. Y'all remember when you used to walk into Walmart and there was toilet paper on the shelves? No more, suckers. Hope you guys stocked up and everything. But we we have some interesting times here, and oftentimes it's times like these where God shows up the most if we're looking for Him. Okay, so there's a tool that is in God's arsenal that man, I hate this tool. And the crazy thing is, I don't even think he likes to use this tool. But because he does love us so much, he's willing to use it. And as a result of that, we need to be pursuing him daily. Now, here's the tool, okay? It's one word: pain. God will use pain as a tool to bring us closer to him, because when we have pain, we start running. Now, here's the catch with that, okay? Oftentimes, what we do is we run to friends, run, to family, we run to boyfriends or girlfriends, we run to sports, some of us run to like alcohol, drugs, vaping, things like that, some sort of chemical addiction. We run to the places where we think we can find joy and pleasure. Sometimes we run to things like pornography or other lustful fulfillments. And we're runners. Like, that's what we do. Like, when we experience pain, like, we run. Like, have you ever seen somebody that like hurts their leg or something? What do? They try to like jog it off, like that's going to help. I know, like for me, every time that I hurt myself physically, I'm always trying to like walk it off or jog it off. We even have that saying, walk it off, walk it off. Like, I don't think that's how that typically works. I actually think that's kind of counterproductive. But we're runners. We run from pain. Now, here's the thing: I want you to run from pain. But it's where you run that becomes really, really important in times like these. We want you to run to God. And if you will run to God, you're going to find something there that you can't find in all those other places we just talked about. You are going to find eternal pleasure, joy, and peace. Can your friends, family, boyfriend, girlfriend provide you some joy and things like that? You bet. Can sports provide you a good time? You bet. Can drugs, chemical addictions, things like that, can that provide you with some momentary pleasure or fulfillment or something like that? Man, yeah, totally. But at the end of all those encounters, you're still going to be left wanting more. And the cool thing about Christianity is that when you come to Jesus, you're not left wanting more. You're left with this desire to be closer to God because you just enjoy it so much, but He never will remove His love from you. He never will remove His promises from you. He never will remove His joy from you. Sometimes we got to fight for those things because we have temptations in our life, but He doesn't remove those things from us. So here's what I want us to do. I want us to acknowledge just for a moment that sometimes we claim we run to Jesus, but in reality, we're running to a different kind of God. Let me explain this way. Here's my wallet, and inside of my wallet, I have my cute little foldable pocket Jesus. Take a good look right there. He's like throwing up the peace sign or something like that. Real pretty looking like he's a, I don't know, like some sort of 20th century American hipster with the beard and long hair. Man, yes, I love my pocket Jesus because he's in my wallet, and when I want to pray to him, I can pull him out, I can pray to him, we can talk, have a little powwow, and then when I'm done, I just fold him back up, put him back in my wallet, and I don't have to think about him too much because he's out of sight, out of mind, and after all, he really just wants me to be happy. And so he provides me with his presence when I need it, and then when I don't need it, put him back in that wallet, and everything is good. Now, that may sound like a stupid illustration, but oftentimes it's exactly what we do with Jesus. We make him out to be this pocket God, this God that we can fully explain, fully understand, fully like question. Like if he does something, we can be like, now why did you do that, God? Now let's just be honest here. Is that really the best course of action and things like that? When he starts to take things away or when pain comes, we're just like, no, God, why would you do something like that to me? After all, you only want me to be happy. You see, we have this God, whenever we have a pocket God, we have a God that we can control. And if you can control God, that doesn't make God God, that makes you God, because by his very definition, God is timeless, all-powerful, all-knowing. No one can control him. So if you can control God, that would make you God. And that's a problem, because I know that you're not God, and I know that I'm not God. So here's where we're going to tune in. We're going to look at a lesson from a guy by the name of Job, okay? Let me summarize. If you tuned in last week, you know this story already, but if you didn't, it's okay. I just want to summarize. Job was a guy who had it all. Big family, lots of stuff, lots of money, and he loved God, and God loved him. God was proud of him. And Satan came to God one day and wanted to test Job and essentially be like, Satan was kind of just like, if I take everything away from Job, he's not going to worship you, talking to God. And God allowed Satan to do some things to Job. And so essentially everything except for Job's wife gets taken away. And even his wife comes at him and is like, Job, it's time for you to curse God and die. So this guy, he loses everything, but through it all, he keeps worshiping God. Now, let's throw a little twist in the story, because after like chapter 2 or 3, Job has some time to think. He spends 7 days not saying a word. And then after 7 days, he opens his mouth and he begins to have a conversation with his friends where he's expressing frustration. He's expressing like kind of questioning God. He is not happy after having some time, like you guys have, some time where all the distractions are taken away and he's thinking about it. He is not happy with his circumstances. So he starts to question God. Now this goes on for almost 35 chapters. And God finally comes out and starts talking to Job. Okay, so I just want to read 11 verses for you right here. This is after Job has questioned God, been frustrated with God and everything else. God finally says this. Then the Lord answered Job from the whirlwind. Who is this that questions my wisdom with such ignorant words? Brace yourself like a man, because I have some questions for you, and you must answer them. Where were you when I laid the foundations of the earth? Tell me if you know so much. Who determined its dimensions and stretched out the surveying line? What supports its foundations, and who laid its cornerstone as the morning stars sang together and all the angels shouted for joy? Who kept the sea inside its boundaries as it burst from the womb, and as I clothed it with clouds and wrapped it in thick darkness? For I locked it behind barred gates, limiting its shores. I said, this far and no farther will you come. Here your proud waves must stop. That is Job chapter 38, verses 1 through 11. Man, Job questioned God, and then all of a sudden God has about 2, 3, 4 chapters of questions for Job. And I would encourage you to read the whole thing. And here's where it all boils down to. When Job had time to think, when he had time alone, kind of like you're experiencing right now, he started getting frustrated with God, because he realized that somewhere in him was this desire to have this pocket God, this pocket Jesus, who was there for you when you needed him. When everything was good, you didn't really need him, so you could just keep him in your wallet. When everything is bad, you can pull him out and you can be like, hey, Jesus, we need to have a powwow. We need to talk. Somewhere in him, there was that desire to be God, to have all the answers, to have this thing figured out. So he starts to question God, and then God starts to question Job. And essentially, God's questions are really simple. It's just like, hey, are you God or am I? That's kind of the question that God is throwing around there to Job. So with all that, we need to run to Jesus during this time. But we got to be really careful that we're not running to the pocket Jesus, or the wallet Jesus, or the purse Jesus. The Jesus who is there when we need him, but when we don't need him, we can put him back away. We don't have to think about him. We definitely don't have to serve him. And as long as things are good, we can just kind of keep him there, because after all, he just wants us to be happy. When we run to Jesus, we need to run to the God of the universe, who created heaven and earth, who created the waves and told them where to stop, who created the land and told it where to stop, who created the universe, the whole 9 yards. And most of all, he created you and he created me, and we are his crowning jewel achievement, which I think is so incredibly cool. So here's the question. What Jesus are you running to, if you're running to him at all? I think you fall into one of three camps. Either A, you haven't been thinking about Jesus at all during this time because you don't really care about him. Here's the good news. He cares about you, and he wants you to experience joy. So how about you run to him? B, you are serving this pocket Jesus that when you need him, he's there, but when you don't, you can put him away. That's no real God. That's a God that you have created. That's a God that I create. It's not the real God of the universe. Option C is that you are running after the God of the universe, and maybe sometimes you fail. Maybe sometimes you fall. Maybe sometimes you slip up, you do things that don't please him. But you know that he created everything. He created you. He created a way for salvation, and as a result of that, you're going to serve him, and even when you fall, you're going to repent, and you're going to start pursuing him again. Those are our three options, really, when it comes to what our response has been to this whole coronavirus thing. And so my question is, which one do you fall in? Have you not been thinking about Jesus because he doesn't matter to you? If so, he really, really loves you. He cares for you, and you matter to him. So I think that's enough reason to turn to him right now. Maybe you have been serving this pocket Jesus, and things aren't going too well with that. Well, guess what? The reason things aren't going too well with that is because that Jesus doesn't actually exist. The Jesus that I serve is the God who is eternal past, eternal present, eternal future. He created you. He created me. He created everything that we see. He loves us dearly, and he wants us to serve him and enjoy him and experience that eternal joy and that eternal pleasure that the rest of the things in our life that we run to, they can't provide. Guys, I hope that you have a great time in your small groups. Man, I miss you all. I hope that I can see you soon. But even if we can't connect face-to-face, at least we can connect this way. Praise God for internet and cameras and things like that. I'll be talking to you soon. Let me know how I can pray for you.